Hi everybody, my name's Mark, and Yahushua's asked me to undertake this quest of transliterating the scriptures into 21st century modern colloquial English, everyday English, so that everybody can understand it. Because all the freaky deaky, weird, wacko, spooky, honky tonky teachers out there are not giving the reality, not delivering the reality of Yahushua's Ruach and what happens when the Ruach comes in you. It's not a reality, it's not explained what's going to happen. The agony is not explained, the flogging, discipline, chastising is not explained, was never explained to us. So naturally we just think we're wrong. Yahushua's abandoned us. What's wrong with us? I've left all my family and friends, have been cut off from everything. I'm just this freak, that doesn't do Christmas and doesn't do birthdays, and I'm some laughing stock among the family. And now Yahushua's left me too. I feel miserable all the time. This is exactly what's meant to happen. He has so many stories about this. Constantly telling people, keep going. This is normal. But you've got to face what Yahushua wants you to see. Then you feel better. You repent, you say sorry, you keep going, you feel better. You get strengthened and you keep going. You do something wrong, you disobey him, you feel like crap. So this is the flogging. That was a blowout to me when I watched that back. The light coming in us that burns the darkness. That's what experience we're going through. The burning. You don't come to Yahushua because you want some happy, wonderful, joy-filled life. This isn't a Pentecostal altar call, guys. Come on down and have a life full of joy. No, you don't come to Yahushua for the joy. You come to Yahushua because you're broken and you've got no other option. Your life is wrecked, smashed, wrecked, sick, broken. That's how we come to Yahushua, and he rescues us, picks us up, puts his Ruach within us. And that Ruach doesn't just start writing sweet covenantal words on our heart. His Ruach burns, it flogs, it chastises, it disciplines until we start walking in obedience, until we start doing the right thing, producing the right behaviour that he wants. It's not about throwing things around. I don't like this, I don't like that. You might have got away with that before, but I'm here now. If you want me, darkness can't be mixed with light. So we've got a lot of reading to do today, guys. We've dealt with the Ark of the Blood Covenant Witness, and that was in the most set apart place in the Tabernacle. Yahushua's starting from the inside out, explaining all the articles of furniture, because remember, he's washing their minds, getting them ready for his arrival, when he would come and bring meaning to all of this. Not abolish any of it, but breathe life into it. So the next article of furniture that we come to is called the table of showbread. So make a table of acacia wood. That's what the showbread looks very similar to the Ark of the Covenant, doesn't it? The top of it. It was just a table. You can see the bread on top of it there. Make a table of acacia wood or shittim wood. Make a table of acacia wood, 92 centimeters long, 46 wide, 29 high. Overlay it with pure gold and run a gold molding around the edge of it also. Decorate it with 8 centimeter border all around. Run a gold molding around along that border too. Make 4 gold rings for the table and attach them at the 4 corners next to the 4 legs. Pretty much what this picture is that you can see here, that's what he's explaining. Attach the rings near the bottom to hold the poles that are used to carry the table. Make these poles from acacia wood, overlay them with gold. Then everything had to be covered with gold. Gold was purity. Then make special containers of pure gold for the table. Bowls, ladles, pitchers, jars, all to be used in pouring out the liquid offerings. Then place the showbread on the table to remain before me at all times. This bread had to remain before him at all times. And that's a picture of the table there, everything I just read. That's what it was meant to look like, if done properly. So we've got the whole concept in this inner sanctum of bread. Why did Yahushua keep saying all the time that he was bread, bread? Talking about the manna, talking about the bread from the sky that fed them in the wilderness. Well, this represents that bread. Because remember, everything was to hold on to pass down to the children so they wouldn't forget. Keep some of the manna in a bowl in the Ark of the Blood Covenant witness so that they remember how much I delivered you and provided for you in the wilderness. Hold on to all this stuff, you know. So don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. So this was the bread. Yahushua is the bread. It's bread that sustains us. So remember, as we go through this, you might have read books and commentaries about the articles of the Tabernacle, and good on you, that's great. I'm not going into that much detail with all the intricate details of it. I'm gleaning from the behaviours and Yahushua, because it's all about Yahushua, his behaviour, and the behaviour he wants his bride to have, so that he can restore his blood covenant home. Okay, that's the context I'm reading all this in. So I am skimming fast over things, numbers and figures, and showing you a picture. Here's a picture. So after the table of showbread, still in the inner court, the set apart place, we come to the golden lampstand. We all know about the lampstand, the menorah, don't we? Messianics and Nathrams love their menorah, don't they? It's like a religious icon. Religious icon. Make a lampstand of pure beaten gold. It's got to be beaten. Make the entire lampstand and its decorations all of one piece. The base, center shaft, lamp cups, knobs, and blossoms. So all in this is talking about lamp shafts, knobs, blossoms. Have a look over here, just near my head here. You can see that this whole shaft, this whole lampstand, and this is just a portion of it over here. See how it's got little blossoms and little knobs and a shaft bit. That's what I was talking about here. So I am going to read it fast, but you can see that the end result is pretty much to look like this. Make it with 6 branches going out from the center shaft, which makes 7 all up. 3 on each side, and each of the 6 branches will have 3 lamp cups shaped like almond flowers, complete with ornamental knob and blossom. Craft the center shaft of the lampstand with 4 lamp cups shaped like almond flowers, complete with ornamental knob and blossom. There will also be a knob under each pair of branches, where the 6 branches extended from the center shaft. The knobs and branches must all be one piece with the center shaft, and they must be beaten from pure gold. Then make the 7 lamps for the lampstand and set them so they reflect their light forward. The lamps being the little cups on top that hold the oil and to burn the light. The lamp snuffers and trays must also be made of pure gold, and you will need 34 kilos of pure gold for the lampstand and its accessories. Ensure that you make everything according to the pattern that I have shown you here on the mountain. Make sure you do everything according to the pattern, all right? All had to be done according to the pattern. You can see the menorah there that's shining the light. You can see on the other side with the blue background, the branch, the shaft, flowers or bud, knob or bud, bowl or cabbage, branches, buds, knobs, flowers. So it's all just terminology to explain this menorah that's happening here. 7 lampstands. Remember last episode before that, appointed times, we actually put the names of the feast, the 7 feasts, the 7 lamps, the 7 assemblies in the book of Revelation. Interestingly, almonds in the turquoise here, almonds were the first fruits to bud every year. So the buds on the lampstand point to Yahushua's first fruit resurrection from the dead. Anywhere you see the word first fruit, my ears just twitch up. They're like the first fruit, because Yahushua was the first fruit. That means the first, best, prime part of the crop in agricultural terms. Bring the first fruits, bring the best portion, the best lamb, the best part of your crop to me, you know? First fruit. And Yahushua was that best. He was the first fruit. Also because he is the only being in this existence, in this universe, that has both a physical and spiritual body. I mean, we have a ruach within us, but we have a physical body. We can't just walk through walls, can we? Or fly. Yahushua can do that. He has a first fruit resurrected body. That's what this is talking about. The almonds were the first fruits who bud every year. So the buds on the lampstand point to Yahushua's first fruit resurrection from the dead. Everything points to Yahushua. And like I said, you can do studies on the lampstand, the amount of buds and blossoms and almonds and all this stuff. Every number means something. But let me cut the corner for you and get to the end. It's all about Yahushua. It all points to Yahushua. So now we come to the plans for the tabernacle. Let's go. Try and keep up. Make the tabernacle from 10 curtains of finely woven linen. I'll show you a picture of it in a minute. Decorate the curtains with blue, purple, scarlet thread and skillfully embroidered cherubim. These 10 curtains must all be exactly the same size, 12.9 by 1.8. Then join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain. Then join the other 5 into a second long curtain. Put loops of blue yarn along the edge of the last curtain in each set. The 50 loops along the edge of one curtain are to match the 50 loops along the edge of the other curtain. Then make 50 gold clasps and fasten the long curtains together with clasps. In this way, the tabernacle, which is the Mishkan, which means dwelling place, this tabernacle will be made of one continuous piece. Make 11 curtains of goat hair cloth to serve as a tent covering for the tabernacle. These 11 curtains must be all exactly the same size, 13.8, 1.8 wide. Join 5 of these curtains together to make one long curtain. And join the other 6 into a second long curtain. Allow 1 meter of material from the second set of curtains to hang over the front of the tabernacle. Make 50 loops for one edge of each large curtain, then make 50 bronze clasps and fasten the loops of the long curtains with the clasps. In this way, the tent covering will be made of one continuous piece, like a body, like a skin. The remaining 1 meter of this tent covering will be left to hang over the back of the tabernacle. Allow 46 centimeters of remaining material to hang down over each side so the dwelling place is completely covered. Complete the tent covering with a protective layer of tanned ram skin and a layer of fine goat skin leather. For the framework of the tabernacle, construct frames of acacia wood. Each frame must be 40.6 high by 69 centimeters wide with 2 pegs under each frame. Make all the frames identical. Make 20 of these frames to support the curtains on the south side of the tabernacle. Also make 47 bases, 2 bases under each frame with pegs fitting securely into the bases. For the north side of the tabernacle, make another 20 frames with the 4 bases, 2 bases under each frame. Make 6 frames for the rear, west side of the tabernacle. Along the 2 extra frames reinforced the new tabernacle. These corner frames will be matched at the bottom and firmly attached at the top with a single ring, forming a single corner unit. Make both of these corner units the same way, so there will be 8 frames at the rear of the tabernacle. Set 16 silver bases, 2 bases under each frame. Make crossbars of acacia wood to length of frames, 5 crossbars of the north corner of the tabernacle, and 5 for the south corner. Each make 5 crossbars also for the rear of the tabernacle, which will face west. The middle crossbar attached halfway to the frame will run away from one end of the tabernacle to the other. Overlay the frames with gold and make gold rings to hold the crossbars. Overlay the crossbars with gold as well. Set up this tabernacle according to the pattern which you were shown on this very mountain. On the mountain, the pattern. For the inside of the tabernacle, make a special curtain of finely woven linen. Decorate it with blue, purple and scarlet thread and with skillfully embroidered cherubim. Hang this curtain on the gold hooks attached to the 4 posts of the acacia wood and overlay the posts with gold and set them in 4 silver bases. Hang the inner curtains from clasps and put the Ark of the Blood Covenant witness in the room behind it. This curtain will separate the set apart place from the most set apart place. This was a curtain that was rent when Yahushua was impaled, he died. Then put the lid of the ark, the place of atonement, on top of the ark, inside the most set apart place, the table outside the inner curtain on the north side of the dwelling place, and the lampstand across the room from the south side. Then make another curtain for the entrance to the tent. Make it of finely woven linen and embroider it with exquisite designs using blue, purple and the scarlet thread. Craft 5 posts from acacia wood, overlay them with gold and hang the curtain from them with gold hooks. Cast 5 bronze bases for the posts. Did you get all that? Let's go back up to the pictures because that's basically what let's look at the pictures. There's one picture there you can look at. So you've got badger skin, ram skin, dyed red, goat's hair, fine twined linen. So we've got gold posts in there and we've got ropes and we've got badger skin, ram skin, goat's hair. We've got all these elements going into this design. And this was going to be in the wilderness. So look at all the resources they had to pull together to get this. I read somewhere that there was about 8 tons of gold. 8 tons of gold that went into this structure. 8 tons. How many Mack trucks would that be to carry that? 8 tons of gold. But then, when I read further, it said given how many, because I'm thinking how they carry this through the, when they pull it all apart and move on, who carries all this stuff? Then I read on later and it said that if every single person in Yisrael, because there are 3 million people, remember, carried 1 gold earrings worth of gold, that's how much it would be. So it wasn't, there's enough people to carry it all. 1 piece of gold this big amongst everybody would be about 8 tons. So not a big deal. There's one picture there. The Tabernacle is another interpretation of it. So he's building this dwelling at the base of the mountain so that people can see him. It's for their benefit as well, so they can know he's there. This fire that they were following through the wilderness, this column of cloud and fire, is now going to rest. This fire is going to sit on the tabernacle after the great the ordination or the day that it happens. So here's another picture here. That was a good one. So you can see everything had to be built to the exact dimensions, the exact pattern. Every measurement, every centimetre, every inch, every thread had significance, and it all had to be done to the exact pattern because it all meant something to Yahusha. And if it's not done perfectly to house his esteem wouldn't come. And if it wasn't done properly to contain his esteem would break forth and destroy everybody. So, like I've said lots of times now, it's like housing a nuclear warhead. The right temperature, everything had to be done right. Don't fire weapons at the nuclear warhead. Don't heat them up too much, or there'll be a mushroom cloud. This is the exact same thing on a grander scale. So you can see here, Yahusha takes Musha on a virtual tour of the throne room in his higher dimension through the pattern of the tabernacle in the wilderness. One is a shadow of the other. Remember one of the prayers that says, on earth as it is in heaven. Many people have jumped on that and said, everything that's in heaven is on earth. So one dimension, the higher dimension, he's showing Musha what's in the higher dimension, whether Musha knew it at the time or not. What's in the higher dimension, this is a pattern. So look in here, you can see, we haven't got to the outer court yet, but you can see in the inner place there, the menorah. See the little menorah over here? That's the menorah they were to build. There's the table of showbread there with the bread on it. There's the incense altar, which we haven't explained that one yet. And then there was a curtain here. So the priests were able to go into this room. The priests were not allowed to go into this room. Otherwise they'd be struck dead. Aaron could only go in there 1 day a year. That was the Day of Atonement. Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur. All these pieces of furniture had significance. It shows us how we approach Yahusha. I'm going to go into this more, but you would walk along here. I'll do it now because it's a good picture. Go along here. This was the incense altar, the brazen altar where the animals were sacrificed, where blood was shed. Right here, blood was shed, delivered by the blood. The priest then had to, and we're all kings and priests, remember, so this is our walk too. They had to be delivered by the blood. They had to go and be washed with the blood of them and make sure they're clean. Washed clean, immersion by the brazen lava. Then they go into this sanctuary. They'd have to make sure they're wearing the right garments. They go in there, and within here we have the light. Yahusha is the light, Yahusha is the bread. Then we have the incense, which is communication. Because the priests would light this incense here and it would waft under the curtain, and boom, the presence of Yahusha would light up. Incense, many places it says the incense is like the prayers of the saints, prayers of the believers. Yahusha's bride, communicating with Yahusha's bride. Prayer is just communication. So this is like a blueprint. For what Yahusha was going to do on a much grander scale soon. Yahusha takes Musha on a virtual tour of the throne room in his higher dimension through the pattern of the tabernacle in the wilderness. One is a shadow of the other. So you can see this amazing structure is going to be the way Yahusha can dwell on this earth amongst his people. He still dwells today in that inner sanctum of the tabernacle. The tabernacle is us, and the inner sanctum is our heart, our lamp, where the oil is poured, the oil of his ruach. And see, it's all about Yahusha. The oil is Yahusha, the ruach is Yahusha, the Torah is Yahusha, because he is the living Torah, he's the living instruction. The word, he is the word, he is the bread, he is the light, he's all of it. So rather than getting caught up on Hebrew idioms and terminology, Yahusha is in our hearts and he wants a certain behavior from us, and that is the worship. So if you're not behaving the right way, you are an unwise virgin, unwise maiden, because that oil is correct, behaving the Torah correctly, Torah behavior. It's not just reading, as we've read many times that the oil is the word, or Yahusha is the word. And when he's in there, he brings forth a certain behavior from us if we surrender and we're willing to be possessed by the Paraklita. Promise of the possessing Paraklita, PPP. So now let's come to the brazen altar. Where's the brazen altar in our picture? The brazen altar is just here. This is the first step. So Israel were not allowed within these four walls. This was only for the priests. See this enclosure here? This was only for the priests, which is us. This was the way they were to approach Yahusha, to have any relationship with him, to serve him. This is the approach we must make before we can serve him in any way as well. So we're dealing with the furniture here called the brazen altar. What was that all about? Here we go again. Ready? Go. Using acacia wood, construct a 2.3 meter wide square altar and 1.4 high. Make horns for each of its four corners so that the horns and altar are all one piece. Overlay the altar with bronze. Make ash pots, shovels, basins, meat forks, and fire holders, all of bronze. Make a bronze grating for it and attach 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. Install the grating halfway down the side of the altar under the ledge. For carrying the altar, make poles from the acacia wood and overlay them with bronze. Insert the poles through the rings on the 2 sides of the altar. The altar must be hollow, made from planks. Build it just as you were shown on this mountain. That's the altar. The courtyard. So that's the altar. See the fire there? That's the altar we just explained to us. Now he's going to explain the whole courtyard. Make the courtyard for the tabernacle enclosed with curtains made of finely woven linen. On the south side, make the curtains 46 meters long. They will be held up by 20 posts set securely in 20 bronze bases. Hang the curtains with silver hooks and rings. Make the curtains the same on the north side. It's 46 meters of curtain held up by 20 posts set securely in bronze bases. Hang the curtains with the silver hooks and rings. The curtains on the west end of the courtyard will be 23 meters long, supported by 10 posts set in 10 bases. East end of the courtyard, the front will be 23 meters long. The courtyard entrance will be on the east end, flanked by 2 curtains. The curtains on the right side will be 6.9 meters, supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. The curtain on the left side will be also 6.9 meters long, supported by 3 posts set into 3 bases. For the entrance to the courtyard, make a curtain that is 9.2 meters long. Make it from finely woven linen and decorate it with beautifully embroidered blue, purple, scarlet thread. Support it with 4 posts, each securely set in its own base. All of the posts around the courtyard must have silver rings and hooks and bronze bases, so the entire courtyard will be 46 long and 23 meters wide. The curtains walls 2.3 high, made from finely woven linen. The bases for the posts will be made of bronze. All the utensils used for the service of the tabernacle, including the pegs, the tent pegs, even the tent pegs, and the courtyard curtains must be made of bronze. So, that's the courtyard. We'll go back up again and see what that was all explaining. It's easy to look at a picture, isn't it? So remember, it's a shadow of what's in the higher dimension, in his higher dimensional throne room. It's a pattern, blueprint. And it's also showing us what he was going to do when he came in the flesh, bought his bride back with his blood, and his ruach went forth into the earth. So, Now we come to the oil for the lamps. We've already gone into the lampstand. Now we're going to talk about the oil, because the oil was very special. It wasn't just some cooking oil you could use. I mean, any oil will burn, won't it? But this was a special recipe that was not allowed, special combination of ingredients and fragrances that were not allowed to be used anywhere else in Yisrael. Tell the children of Yisrael to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light, to keep the lamps burning continually. The lampstand will stand in the tent of the meeting outside the veil that shields the ark of the blood covenant witness. Aaron and his sons must keep the lamps burning in my presence all night. This is a permanent law for all the people of Yisrael, and it must be observed from generation to generation. So these lamps were never allowed to go out. They must keep the lamps burning in my presence all night. It represented his presence. It represented a lot of things, the oil and the lamps. It's all about the ruach of his presence. So let's come now to the cherubim. See the cherubim? They're embroidered on the curtains in the inner sanctum there. Cherubim are emblems of guardianship. Cherubim are emblems of guardianship since mankind alone cannot approach Yahusha. Mankind alone cannot approach Yahusha. They are symbols of perfection and set apartness, guarding the presence of Yahusha. Remember in the garden, the cherubim and the flaming sword, guarding the tree of life? That's what they're symbols of. The tabernacle is a model of Yahusha's higher dimension, and since it is filled with angelic beings, this tabernacle is also to be decorated in like manner. Many agree that the hybrid multi-headed creatures in Ezekiel's dream are cherubim, warrior angels of which Satan was once one before his revolt. And I'm going to go into that more in another episode about Ezekiel's dream and the significance of all the creatures in it, and the significance with Yisrael and their tribal symbols and logos and all those sort of things. So that's interesting, isn't it? If this is a shadow of what's in the higher dimension, Yahusha's higher dimension, that's riddled with angelic beings, so this one's going to have angelic beings on it also, cherubim. The tabernacle is a model of Yahusha's higher dimension, and since it is filled with angelic beings, this tabernacle is also to be decorated with angelic beings also. Many agree that the hybrid multi-headed creatures in Ezekiel's dream are cherubim, warrior angels, of which Satan was once one before his revolt. So that's the cherubim on the fabric. See that curtain there? The Ark of the Blood Covenant Witness is behind that curtain. The priests couldn't see it. They could see the glow of it though. It was kind of, you could kind of see the glow, but you couldn't see. Then you've got the lampstand here, and you've got the table of showbread over here. So, clothing for the priests. Because each priest had to be dressed a certain way as well. Clothing. Remember, this is all cultural. Clothing has nothing to do with it. It's much more significant. We're going to go into it. Call for your brother Aaron and his sons Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Set them apart from the rest of the people of Yisrael so they may serve me as priests. Make special garments for Aaron that are marvelous and beautiful. Instruct all those who are wise and skilled craftsmen who I have filled with my spirit of wisdom, and have them make garments for Aaron that will identify him as a priest, set apart for my service. These are the garments they are to make: a breastplate, a shoulder garment, a robe, an embroidered long tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these special garments for your brother Aaron and his sons to wear when they serve me as priests. So give them fine linen cloth, gold thread, and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. So we're coming into the actual people now, the priests, and what they were to wear in the service of this tabernacle. The service of his presence. The purpose, in the turquoise here, the purpose of these priestly garments is to set them apart from everyone else in Yisrael. Until this point in Yisrael's history, they had never had an official priesthood, and whatever type of worship style they engaged in prior to the Exodus must have been a very unsystematic personal and probably very unfocused activity. So even though there were many believers and obedient people ever since creation, there were people that were obedient and worshipped Yahusha. It was very unsystematic. It didn't have a certain style. It was personal, and they had an altar, but not like this. Not like the other nations that had all their other fancy systems. Well, he's setting up his system. The difference is, and I don't know. Oh, it's coming up, so I'll read it. I just thought it was right here. So previously it was an unsystematic system. So this was the first time in Israel's history they've got an official priesthood. So this was a revolutionary act taking place here. Another big reason for this uniform was to reflect Yahusha's behaviour of purity and a very high degree of modesty. Modesty is not showing off your flesh, not being sexual, trying to show off your skin, show off your body. It was common practice among the pagan religions of the day to have the priests perform their rituals to their deities in the nude. And if they did wear something, it was highly sensual or erotic, involving a lot of fertility rites and sexuality. So he, Yahusha, was washing their minds clean and training them in clean behaviour. So compared to either nudity or very skimpy, sensual, minimal clothing, which we see today in the 21st century, just go to the beach, it's ridiculous. That's acceptable today. Nudity is acceptable today. What's Yahusha doing now? What's Yahusha showing them back here? So this is the behaviour. It's not about clothing, but bring out the behaviour. The idea of modesty is still relevant today. What colour, what style, what cut, what brand, what anything you wear is not it's cultural, but the modesty. Modesty is a behaviour. Are you seeking to draw attention to yourself through your clothes? Are you seeking to draw attention to yourself? Are you seeking to draw people's attention? Are you seeking to draw men's eyes to your body, to your chest, to your bottom? Are you seeking to have people the way you are, or are you doing the opposite? Is your behaviour? Because that's what Yahusha is looking at. The behaviour, we're drawing the behaviours out here. So you can see here the priestly garment here. Obviously we're not going to wear that, are we? It's a dress with a big gold plate at the front of it. This is a cultural garment. But what behaviour are we being taught here? Unlike the pagan priests that were nude, doing everything very silky and sleeky and sensually and trying to draw people into wicked, unclean, evil behaviour, these priests were doing something very different. The garments were long. They had to walk up steps to get to the altars at times, and they didn't want, they had to be modest. Didn't want people looking up their garments. So that's actually the high priest there. He's got the bells. See the bells? I'm going to the bells later. The shoulder garment. So this is that garment up here, on his shoulders. The wise craftsman must make the shoulder garment of finely woven linen and skillfully embroider it with gold and with blue, purple and scarlet thread. It will consist of 2 shoulder pieces, front and back, joined at the shoulders. The decorative sash will be made of the same materials, finely woven linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple and scarlet thread. Take 2 shoham stones and engrave on them the names of the tribes of Israel. 6 names will be on each stone, arranged in the order of the births of the original sons of Israel. So on his shoulders, he's got 6 tribes on one shoulder and 6 tribes on the other shoulder, all written in the order of their births. Engrave these names on the 2 stones in the same way a jeweller engraves a signet seal. Then mount the stones. If you're not following what this all means, just look at the picture. Just look at the picture there. That's what it looked like there. That's the artist's rendition of what it looked like. It may not be exactly like that, but that's very similar. That's what he's explaining here. I am reading it quickly because it's easy to look at pictures. So engrave these names onto like an engraver signet seal. Then mount the stones in settings of gold. Fasten the 2 stones on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment as a reminder that Aaron represents the people of Israel. So as a reminder, Aaron represents the people of Yisrael. Aaron will carry these names on his shoulders as a constant reminder wherever he goes before me. Make the settings of gold, then braid 2 cords of pure gold and attach them to the gold settings on the shoulders of the shoulder garment. So we're not talking about the breastplate here, we're just talking about the shoulder garment underneath the breastplate. The breastplate's the big square thing, and like this thing I got here, this big square breastplate on his thing with the jewels on it, which we're about to explain now. He's just talking about the shoulder garment. Now, design of the breastplate. As we read this, listen to all the scriptures that come to your mind while we're reading all this. Breastplate of right behaviour, the helmet of deliverance, the sword, the spirit of the right. We're supposed to wear our armour. Bring all this in, guys. It's a behaviour. Your armour is an awareness and a behaviour. Just like the priests had to wear a certain uniform, we have to wear one too, but it's behaviour. Putting on the armour every morning, the minute your eyes flicker open of a morning, put your armour on to protect yourself. The shield. What's the shield of? I've forgotten. Belief? Shield of belief, I think it is. So I'm not going to pull in all those newer scriptures at this time. I'm just going through these ones. But keep all this in mind as you go through. Let Yahushua speak to you and bring revelations to you as we go through this. So this is the breastplate. Then with great skill and care, make a breastplate of purity to be worn for seeking a decision from me. A breastplate of purity. I think the original might say righteous. I got rid of the word righteousness. I don't like that word. Righteousness. We are righteous. It's religious. I hate it. What does righteous mean? Pure, clean, good behavior. You know? Right relationship with Yahushua. Pure. It's purity. Breastplate of purity to be worn for seeking a decision from me. So what's he talking about? With great skill and care, make a breastplate of purity to be worn for seeking a decision from me. Make it to match the shoulder garment using finely woven linen embroidered with gold and with blue, purple and scarlet thread. Make the breastplate of a single piece of cloth folded to form a pouch, 23 centimeters square. Mount 4 rows of gemstones on it. Okay, so this is the stones now. See up here the stones? Up here. These stones that are on his breastplate, and they're here down here as well. This is the breastplate that went over his shoulders. The breastplate of purity. This all means something, guys. Mount 4, here it is, the big one down here. We'll get to that. Mount 4 rows. Mount 4 rows of gemstones on it. The first row will contain a red ruby, pale green topaz, and emerald. Second row, turquoise, blue sapphire, white diamond. Third row, orange jacinth, and agate, blue purple amethyst, blue green beryl, shoham, and green jasper. So you can look at that picture there while I keep reading, if you don't want to follow along. All these stones will be set in pure gold, and each stone will represent one of the 12 sons of Yisrael. So all these stones, each stone represents a son of Yisrael. And the name of that tribe will be engraved on it like a signet seal. Did you realize episodes and episodes ago in our last season when Jacob was having children, did you realize that these children, Reuben, Shimeon, Louis, even those ratbags, did you realize that every time, that's why I brought it all up in fancy writing, these names meant something, these sons that were coming forth from Jacob's loins. Now they're stones, they're represented by stones. These 12 sons, these 12 tribes, even the ones that were cursed, the sons on Jacob's deathbed, these tribes mean something. These are the 12 tribes that make up Yisrael, the nation that we are engrafted into. What tribe do we get engrafted into? Who knows? Who cares? But we get engrafted into the commonwealth of Yisrael from the pagan Goyim. Understand, did you realize this when Jacob was having children? Or did you just think, gee, he's popping out a lot of kids, got a lot of servant wives and concubines, and it means something. Yahushua's birthing his bride. So all these stones will be set in pure gold, and each stone will represent one of the 12 tribes, 12 sons of Yisrael. And the name of that tribe will be engraved on it like a signet seal. He's going to wear all these tribal names on his chest. To attach the breastplate to the shoulder garment, make braided cords of pure gold thread. So stop for a minute. I've got the stones. These are different interpretations because they could be round, they could be square. The square ones down there. I think they were square actually. They were square, but this just gives you an idea what they look like. It was a close up. That's why I liked it. Gave you a bit of an idea what the stones look like. So to attach the breastplate to the shoulder garment, make braided cords of pure gold thread, then make 2 gold rings, attach them to the top corners of the breastplate, tie the 2 gold cords to the top 2 rings of the breastplate, tie the other ends of the cords to the gold settings on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment, then make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the inside edges of the breastplate next to the shoulder garment. Make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the front of the shoulder garment below the shoulder pieces, just above the knot where the decorative sash is fastened to the shoulder garment. Then attach the bottom rings of the breastplate to the rings on the shoulder garment with blue cords. So that may not mean much to us, although all those things are significant and they all point to Yahusha. But the significance here is Yahusha is going into, wow, a lot of detail, isn't he? So they can't say to him, you know, how do you want us to make it? How long do you want it to be? How many stones? You didn't tell us. You know, you expect all this, you didn't tell. No, he's told them, hasn't he? Every jot and tittle and detail. How long the fabric, what colour's the fabric. You know, every dimension and detail has gone into. I'm reading it fast because it's cultural and it doesn't mean a lot to us here. Unless you want to look into all the numbers of how many screws and how many bolts and how many things are in there. And it all points to Yahusha. So just understand that. This will hold the breastplate securely to the shoulder garment above the decorative sash. In this way, this is the point, in this way Aaron will carry the names of the tribes of Israel on the breastplate of purity, right over his heart when he goes into the set apart place. This will be a continual reminder that he represents the people when he comes before me. So, I mean, we look back in retrospect and it seems like such a sad story because we know what Yisrael did to Yahusha. But at this point in the story, look how excited Yahusha is. He's like a child with a new toy. He's like so excited. If you do this and you do this and you do this and set this up here and draw that there and insert that stone in there and then that will be right and this will be right and then I can come and be with you. Then I can finally be. It's been over 2,000 years now since the garden. I can come and be with my people. That's what he did. That's what creation is about, isn't it? Him wanting a marriage home, a bride, a family. So look how excited he is. So even though in our minds we might think of the sons of Yaakov as being a bunch of scumbags, half of them, Yahusha doesn't feel like that. This is his bride. These 12 chosen men that have turned into 12 tribes are going to be written, engraved on the stones that are on the chest plate, breastplate of purity. Look how excited he is and how much detail he goes into it, so that it's done properly. Look at a bride on her wedding day and the thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars that go into every detail being done properly. Yahusha's excited about meeting with his bride. He's just had the wedding ceremony. We're actually still in the wedding ceremony because he's still giving the instructions. So look here, in the purple here, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 stones, are forever bound to our high priest's heart. Isn't that beautiful? Our high priest, of course, is Yahusha. The 12 tribes of Israel are forever bound to our high priest's heart by the 4 gold rings. Eternal covenant of protection. Rings are everlasting covenants. Rings signify no beginning and no end. That's why the pagans jumped on board and made them wedding rings. So he's bound to our high priest's heart by the 4 gold rings, which are the eternal covenant of protection. And he carries us into the most set apart place of his presence. That's the role of the high priest. He's got the tribes of Israel on his chest, held together by rings, everlasting blood covenant, all the while, look on the other side here, all the while judging and discerning the thoughts of our hearts to declare our behaviour and perfection, right or wrong. We also must wear this breastplate to protect us from the fiery arrows of the enemy. There's different levels of understanding here, isn't there? That's the whole purpose of having the breastplate of purity. It was, what was it about? It was something about a judge, like a judge decides right and wrong, a judge decides guilty or innocent in a courtroom. This whole concept of the breastplate of purity, and that was the high priest coming into the presence of Yahushua, carrying the 12 tribes of Yisrael, carrying the burden of their behavior with him into the dwelling place, so that Yahushua could instruct and decide what to do with them, and right ruling. That's why the word righteousness was often used, because of right ruling, right relationship, balancing, good and evil, guilty or innocent, like a judge. So a high priest also plays the part of a bit of a judge as well. Yahushua is the judge, but the high priest is involved in this role as well. So he's carrying, let's once more, I thought this was beautiful. I'm going to read it again, if I can get my screen to work. There we go. The 12 tribes of Yisrael are forever bound to our high priest's heart by the 4 gold rings. And he carries us into the most set apart place of his presence, all the while judging and discerning the thoughts of our hearts, to declare our behavior and perfection right or wrong. So if you feel right, it's because you're doing things that are right. If you feel wrong, if you feel dirty, unclean, miserable, unsatisfied, it's because you're doing things that are wrong. And it's all about behavior. It's not about what you eat and drink. It's not what we put into our bodies that declare us unclean. It's what comes out of our hearts, the behaviors that come out of our hearts. If you want to have the occasional drink, have the drink. If you want to have the occasional smoke, it's not good for you. But that's not what we're talking about here. The behaviors, the food we eat. The food we eat is riddled with preservatives and sugar today as well. It's like a drug of itself. There's a big revolution going on in the world about clean eating. It's everywhere. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's what we put into our body. I'm talking about what comes out of our body is what makes us unclean. It's about behavior. Not judging one another on food or drinks, It's about behavior. Isn't it beautiful the way Yahushua feels about his bride? He carries her on his heart, because he's now our high priest. And he has us engraved on his heart, 12 tribes. And then of course there we are to wear this breastplate also to protect us from the fiery arrows of the devil, of the enemy. We're wearing the breastplate of purity, the breastplate of right behavior, to protect our hearts. There's an attack. You face that there's an attack going on. Not just your own stupid consequences for your own stupid behaviors. There's an actual attack coming on you. If you're in Yahushua's bride, he hates you. The dragon is after you. So face it. And don't, if you trip over your own stupidity, trip over your own filth, trip over your own wicked behaviors, get back up and keep going. Don't let him keep you down. That was just here, insert the Urim and Thummim into the breastplate of obedience. So they will be carried right over Aaron's heart when he comes into my presence. In this way, Aaron will always carry over his heart the objects used to determine my will for my people wherever he comes in before me. So without the breastplate, that's the garment. There's a picture there. All that sewing and embroidery and whatnot, that was what it was explaining there. And then of course he put the shoulder pieces and I think it's called an ephod, shoulder pieces and the breastplate over the top of this tunic. So additional clothing for the priests. Make the robe that is worn with the shoulder garment from a single piece of blue cloth. Okay, here we go again. With an opening of Aaron's head in the middle of it, reinforce the opening with a woven collar so it will not tear. Make pomegranate out of blue, purple and scarlet yarn and attach them to the hem of the robe with gold bells between them. And the gold bells and pomegranates are to alternate all around the hem. Aaron will wear this robe whenever he serves me, and the bells will tingle tinkle as he goes in and out of my presence in the set apart place, so that he doesn't die. Next, make it so that he doesn't die. He had to wear bells around the garment so that if he entered the most set apart place and there was any unclean behaviour in him, he would be struck dead. And he had a rope tied around his leg as well, because no one else could go in there, and they'd have to pull him out. They can't go into Yahushua's presence. So, wear the bells. So if the bells stopped ringing, they'd know he'd drop dead. The priests that were in the set apart place. Next, make a medallion of pure gold and engrave it like a seal with these words, set apart to Yahuwah. So what's this? Make a medallion of pure gold and engrave it like a seal with these words, set apart to Yahuwah. Attach the medallion with a blue cord to the front of Aaron's turban. Okay, this is on his head, where it must remain. Aaron must wear it on his forehead so that he may take on himself any guilt of the people of Israel when they bring their offerings. He must always wear it on his forehead, so I will accept the people. Get it? He's representing the people here. Weave Aaron's embroidered tunic from fine linen cloth. Fashion the turban from this linen as well. Also make a sash, decorate it with colourful embroidery. For Aaron's sons, make tunics, sashes, special head coverings that are brilliant and beautiful. Clothe your brother Aaron and his sons with these garments, and then anoint and ordain them. Establish them so they can serve as my priests. Look at all these big chunks of writing, guys, from Yahushua. Big red writing from Yahushua. We didn't see that in Genesis, did we? A few paragraphs here or there. He's going into big detail about what he wants and what needs to happen for him to dwell among them. For light to come and dwell with darkness, it has to be done right, handled correctly. So establish them so they can serve me as priests. Also make linen undergarments for them to be worn next to their bodies, reaching from their hips to their thighs. These must be worn whenever Aaron and his sons enter the tent of meeting or approach the altar in the set-apart place to perform their priestly duties. Then they will not take on lawlessness and die. So they've got to have long undergarments so that they don't reveal any nakedness. And they're walking up and down the altars and all sorts of things. This is a permanent law, permanent instruction for Aaron and all his descendants after him. So we just dealt with the clothing. Aren't we supposed to be putting on our correct garments? Garments of praise? The pure garments? White robes? Wedding garments? Think about all these scriptures you've read in the later books. We are the priests. We are Yahushua's priests, and he is the great high priest. Now we come to the dedication of the priests. This is how you will set Aaron and his sons apart to serve me as priests. Take a young bull and 2 rams with no defects. Then unleavened wheat bread and cakes mixed with olive oil and wafers anointed with oil. Place them all in a single basket and present them at the entrance of the tent of meeting along with the young bull and the 2 rams. Present Aaron and his sons at the entrance of the tent of meeting and wash them with water. So they have to be washed with water. Blood sacrifice in the turquoise here. Blood sacrifice has been a common practice since Yahushua instructed Adam and Ḥawwa after the garden incident. However, this is the introduction of being washed with water and cleansed in order to serve Yahushua. This is the first time water is coming into it. When they had water through the Red Sea and they washed themselves before Yahushua appeared on the mountain. But this is a ceremonial washing and it means something. Dress Aaron in his priestly garments, the tunic, the robe worn with the shoulder garment itself, and the breastplate. Then wrap the decorative sash of the shoulder garment around him, place the turban on his head, and fasten the special sign of dedication, medallion, to the turban. Then anoint him by pouring the anointing oil over his head. So we've got oil now. What does oil remind you of? The ruach. It's all about anointing, see? Next, present his sons and dress them in their tunics. Wrap the sashes around the waists of Aaron and his sons and put their turbans on them. Then the priesthood will be theirs by law forever. In this way you will establish Aaron and his sons. Bring the young bull to the entrance of the tent of meeting, where Aaron and his sons will lay their hands on its head. So we see here blood, atonement, water for cleansing, and oil for anointing. That is what every priest needs to have, and that's what we need also. Blood, water, and oil. Repent, be immersed, and receive the ruah. Repent, washed in his blood, immersed in water for cleansing, and the anointing oil of his ruah comes within us to light our lamp, to light our awareness. We gain a new perspective. His words are written on our hearts, and his light starts to burn us, and we become aware of our behaviour, aware of the world, aware of everything. We start coming out of it, set apart, see? He wants to set us apart, but it's not how we thought. Not about wearing different clothes or speaking. It's a behaviour. So, bring the young bull to the entrance of the meeting, where Aaron and his sons will lay their hands on its head. So they had to lay their hands on the head of the bull. This is, in the turquoise, visually illustrating the idea, through behaviour, of transferring the evil. This is like substitution. Transferring the evil of the priests onto the animal, which would be slain as a substitute instead of them. That's why they had to lay hands on the head of the animal. Transferring. So they're visually illustrating the idea through behaviour. This is all kiddie talk, guys. This is that Yahushua wanted them so fluent in this that when he came along in the flesh, decades and decades later, generations later, when he came along, they would grasp him. This must be the great high priest, because he's saying this and doing this, and he will be sacrificed. And he came to a darkened time. Religion had taken over. They didn't know who he was. This was the whole purpose, to wash their minds out of the pagan filth, like he's doing to us today, to prepare us for his coming. Preparing them for his first coming, he's preparing us for his second coming. Visually illustrating the idea of substitution. Then take this animal, slaughter the bull in my presence at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Put some of its blood on the horns of the altar with your finger, and pour out the rest at the base of the altar. Not only the priests, but the altar had to be cleansed before it could have anything to do with Yahushua. Everything had to be cleansed and covered with blood. Otherwise it could not be used with Yahushua. It's like a secret portal. Yahushua can't come through the dimension without coming through the blood. He sees the blood. It's about blood to him. Blood is what connects the dimensions. And it wasn't animal blood, but animal blood. And that's why he only appeared in a certain form in the tabernacle in the wilderness, in a certain strength of presence. It wasn't until Yahushua's own blood was shed that the dimensions could be connected. It's like a portal, aligning the dimensions. So not only the priest, but the altar had to be cleansed before it could have anything to do with Yahushua. Take all the fat around the internal organs, the appendage of the liver and the 2 kidneys, and the fat around them, and burn it all on the altar. Only the fat, the most valuable part of the animal, was to be placed on the altar at this dedication. Like a first fruit, the most valuable part of the animal. Then take the rest of the bull, including its skin, meat, and dung, and burn it outside the camp as a lawless offering. Whenever you see outside the camp, let your little antennas go off. Because outside the camp always refers to Yahushua. Why? In the turquoise here. Outside the camp refers to a place that is unclean. Later we'll see this concept with Jeremiah about the red heifer sacrifice, which is, of course, points to Yahushua's ultimate sacrifice, to cleanse all lawlessness, which was done outside the camp. Outside Jerusalem, Yahushua was taken outside and sacrificed outside, away from the camp, away from the mountain, away from Jerusalem. So that's what outside the camp refers to. Next, Aaron and his sons must lay their hands on the head of one of the rams, then slaughter the ram and sprinkle its blood all over the altar. Cut the ram into pieces and wash off the internal organs and the legs. Set them alongside the head and the other pieces of the body and burn the entire animal on the altar. He's going into great detail here, isn't he? Burn the animal on the altar. This is a burnt offering to me. And it's a pleasing, sweet fragrance, a special gift presented by fire to me. But in the natural, it wouldn't have been a pleasant, sweet smell, would it? Burning blood and guts and on an altar and, flies, and the stench would be horrendous. But his ways are not our ways. What does he say? This is a pleasing, sweet fragrance, a special gift presented by fire. And we're talking about fire a lot. The fire of his presence burns anything that's going to be useful to him. It burns. We have to be offered up, surrendered, sacrificed, burnt up to be useful to him. Now take the other ram and have Aaron and his sons lay their hands on its head. Then slaughter it and apply its blood, some of its blood, to the right earlobe of Aaron and his sons. Also put it on the thumbs of their right hands and the big toe of their right feet. What's this? What's he doing? Take the other ram and have Aaron and his sons lay their hands on its head. Then slaughter it and apply some of its blood to the right earlobe of Aaron and his sons. Also put it on the thumbs of their right hands and the big toe of their right feet. Sprinkle the rest of the blood all around the altar. The right side represents the direction east, and anything in the east is considered set apart and special. Got that? The right side represents the direction east, and anything in the east is considered set apart and special. Then take some of the blood from the altar and some of the anointing oil and sprinkle it on Aaron and his sons and on their garments. In this way, they and their garments will be set apart for service. Have you ever imagined this? Having someone, we cut ourselves and we get a blood on us and that's like whatever, tastes dreadful, blood, the idea is you cut your lip, taste blood, yuck. Imagine having someone pour blood on you. Yuck. It's not even a human blood, not even your own blood. We can tolerate our own blood, even then it's a bit gross. There's blood everywhere, that's our own blood. Imagine a filthy animal having blood poured over you or sprinkled on you. Yuck. And then having oil on it as well. They just need to go blow flour all over you as well, and it'll be a party trick. No, this is the way it was meant to be. But can you see how gross it is? How primitive this behaviour is. But this is how primitive mankind was at this point. All the pagans were doing other weird, wacky, filthier, degrading stuff than this. This was actually righteous. This clean. This was actually clean. Yahushua's doing something here, but just imagine having oil and blood dripped all over you. So, Yahushua is both our high priest and the sacrifice. Did you realise that? All this points to Yahushua. He wasn't just the high priest. He was the sacrifice as well. That's why he was the burning torch, the flaming fire that went through the sacrifices alone. Abraham didn't walk through with him. And Abraham is the founder, the father, the patriarch of our belief. He was the first one to be given the blood. The other men were given covenants, Noah and Adam, but this was the everlasting blood covenant. Blood had to be shed. And Abraham was asleep. The bride was almost like a death, Something came out of it when he awoke, a marriage. So, Yahushua is both. There's a square up here we didn't look at. There's Yahushua here. Musha, the highest leader of Yisrael. Musha was the highest leader of Yisrael and a mediator of a renewed. What's a mediator? A mediator is somebody who stands in the middle and helps two people communicate. Most people who hear the word mediator these days, it's in a negative way, through a divorce hearing or through a counsellor of some sort. I'll be the mediator, between two bickering parties so that we can try and get a point across through someone else. That's what a mediator is, someone who stands in the middle and communicates. Well, Yahushua couldn't communicate with his people because they didn't want to come up the mountain. They didn't want to be clean and be in the light. And of course, he can't be in the darkness. He can have little aspects and appearances through bloodshed, but he can't be in the darkness. So Moshe was the mediator. Moshe, the highest leader of Yisrael and mediator of a renewed covenant, made blood sacrifices, got down on his knees and washed his priests to prepare them for service. What does that remind you of? Moshe got down on his knees and washed his priests to prepare them for service. What does that remind you of? What other great high priest and mediator washed his followers' feet? So we've got the Aaron there, high priest, but he's superimposed a picture of Yahusha on top of it, because Yahusha is our high priest. He's got the headrest, which is the crown of thorns, and he wears. Did you know that that's how precious we are to him? He wears our names, not just our tribal names, but our personal names. He wears them on his heart. That's how much he loves us. That's how much he is looking for. You think you're waiting for that? You think you can't wait till Yahusha comes back? Imagine how excited he is. And he actually knows the time because he lives outside of it. Imagine how much he's biting at the bit, just wanting to get back and get rid of this filthy planet, flood it with fire, cleanse it, and have his bride in the bridal home. Imagine how long he's been waiting. We think we're impatient. Imagine how Yahusha feels about it. He wears our names on his breastplate. So down the bottom here, this pattern of behaviour, which was a shadow, would be repeated when Yahusha, our mediator, lifted up and renewed the blood covenant once and for all with his own perfect blood, washing not only the feet of his priesthood, but through blood and water, completely and legally washing us clean of evil. That's the whole point of this, guys. Not only washing our feet, but through blood and water, completely and legally washing us clean of evil. Can you understand now the significance of knowing you've been washed in the blood of the Lamb? Do you understand that that's what your deliverance is based on? Yahusha's sacrifice. You would not be where you are today if Yahusha had not made that sacrifice for you. Do you understand now why we go through the water, ceremonially becoming clean again? It's not supernatural water. We don't just, technically we go down dry and we come up wet. It's not some weird, freaky spiritual thing. It's a ceremonial washing. It's a sign of a good conscience. We do it out of obedience. Understanding this is why you have to understand all these scriptures in the wilderness and Moshe's writings, the Torah and the instructions. Understand it because it breathes life into what Yahusha's done for us. We are just like Israel in the wilderness. We have to be washed in the blood of the Lamb and ceremonially cleansed. So Yahusha has completely washed us clean of evil. He's washed us clean legally of evil, but we still know there's stacks of evil in our flesh, and that's our part that we have to play through his strength to overcome that. So we'll just finish on this bit here. Since this is the ram for the establishing of Aaron and his sons, take the fat of the ram, including the fat of the tail, the fat around the internal organs, long appendages of the liver and the 2 kidneys and the fat around them, along with the right thigh. Then take 1 round loaf of bread, 1 thin cake mixed with olive oil, and 1 wafer from the basket of unleavened bread that was placed in my presence. Put all these in the hands of Aaron and his sons to be waved as a special wave offering to me. Waved as a special wave offering to me, like a first fruits offering almost. Any offering that gets waved reminds us of Yahusha, whose broken body and shed blood was waved, not only in this dimension, but he went and presented his blood in the higher dimension. That's in the throne room scene in Revelation. A lamb appearing as flesh freshly slain. Cleanse that dimension too. So wave as a special wave offering to me. After, take the various bread from their hands and burn them on the altar along with the burnt offering. It is a pleasing aroma for me, a special offering made by fire for me. Then take the breast of Aaron's dedication ram, and wave it before me as a special wave offering. Then keep it as your own portion. Set aside the portions of the ordination ram that will belong to Aaron and his sons. This includes the breast and the thigh that were lifted up before me as a special wave offering. In the future, whenever the people of Israel lift up a peace offering, a portion of it must be set aside Aaron and his descendants. This is their permanent right and it is a contribution from the children of Israel to me. In our next season in Leviticus, I will go into all the different meanings of the different sacrifices and offerings. I'm not going to right now. Yahusha. Here we go, it's written here. Yahusha is the first fruit wave offering, a unique being possessing both physical and spiritual attributes, who died as a sacrifice and was resurrected, appearing as the lamb freshly slain in the higher dimensional throne room, waving his broken body and shed blood to cleanse both dimensions. His treasured first fruit bride will soon follow and have bodies like him. That's what we're waiting for. That's enough text for today, guys. We'll keep going next week. That's our whole hope. That's our great expectation, that our bodies will be transformed, that these hideous fleshly vessels that we are pretty much prisoners within and trying to overcome all the evil things that want to come through us. Remember, it's what comes out of us that makes us unclean, not what we food or drink or habits. I mean, they're bad habits. You want to get healthier. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't eat sugar. There's plenty of things you can do to be healthier and feel better in your carcass. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about worship and behaviors. Our worship. We're talking about behaviors, unclean behaviors. Many scriptures that the emissaries wrote declaring what behaviors make us unclean. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. That's been a long episode. But you can see how much detail Yahusha goes into to make sure his dwelling places are right, to make sure the garments are right, to make sure today that our behaviors are right. We don't get away with one little thing when it comes to Yahusha. He wants us spotless and clean so that he can be joined with us. So if you are feeling bad, it's because you're doing bad things. If you're feeling good, rejoice. If you are stumbling and having a hard time, listen to Yahusha's voice. You need no one but him. He will teach you through his Ruach by his word. He is the word and he is the Ruach. And you are going through this wilderness isolation process so that you will face that and not take it as a bad thing. Everything you're going through is a good thing. Even if you're doing hideous, filthy behaviors or, horrible things, it's a good thing because Yahusha's bringing you to a place where you can see the difference and you want him. See you later. Bye.